91-year-old widow yelled at by neighbor. He didn't see the bikers moving in next door. The sun always seemed to shine a little brighter on 42 Maple Street, or at least that's how it felt to those who knew the history of the house. For over 60 years, since 1960, this home had been the sanctuary of Mrs. Eleanor. She was 91 now, a tiny woman with silver hair pinned neatly back and hands that still bore the faint stains of garden soil. Her late husband, Bill, had built every board of that house with his own two hands. But his true masterpiece wasn't the structure, it was the garden. The roses Bill had planted decades ago had grown into a magnificent, sprawling hedge that lined the property, a vibrant explosion of red and pink that smelled like summer memories. To Eleanor, they were living proof of Bill's love. To the rest of the neighborhood, they were a landmark of kindness. But peace in a quiet neighborhood is often fragile, easily shattered by the arrival of someone who values profit over people. That someone was Kevin. A wealthy, arrogant developer from the city, Kevin bought the dilapidated shack next door with plans to modernize the block. Within months, the old house was rubble, replaced by a cold, imposing structure of glass and concrete that cast a long, uninviting shadow over Eleanor's cozy yard. Kevin didn't just want a new home, he wanted perfection, and in his eyes, Eleanor's beloved roses were an eyesore. He called them overgrown weeds that attracted bees and lowered his property value. The conflict came to a head on a crisp Tuesday morning. Jax, a member of the Motor Mafia motorcycle club, was riding past on his way to check on Eleanor. The club had adopted her years ago, shortly after Bill passed away. They weren't blood relatives, but they were family nonetheless, stopping by to mow her lawn, fix her porch steps, and listen to her stories about the old days. As Jax slowed his engine near the property line, he heard shouting. He killed the engine and walked around the corner to see a scene that made his blood boil. Kevin, dressed in an expensive suit that looked out of place in a garden, was screaming at Eleanor. The poor woman was trembling, clutching her cardigan, tears streaming down her weathered face. "I'm telling you one last time, lady," Kevin yelled, pointing a manicured finger at the rose bushes. "Those things are coming down. My contractors will be here tomorrow to tear down that rotting fence and clear this mess. If you don't like it, maybe you should have sold when you had the chance. You're dragging down the whole neighborhood." Eleanor tried to speak, her voice barely a whisper. "Please, Mr. Kevin, my husband planted these. They are all I have left of him." Kevin laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Sentimentality doesn't pay taxes, Grandma. Get out of my way." Jax stepped forward, his boots crunching on the gravel. He didn't say a word to Kevin yet. He simply walked over to Eleanor, gently placing a large leather-gloved hand on her shoulder. She looked up, seeing the familiar patch of the Motor Mafia on his vest, and her breathing slowed. She knew she wasn't alone anymore. "You done?" Jax asked, his voice low but carrying the weight of a thunderstorm. Kevin turned, sneering at the biker. "This is private property. Get off my land before I call the police." "You can call whoever you want," Jax said calmly, stepping between the bully and the widow, "but you won't be touching a single petal of those roses. And if you lay one finger on that fence, you'll have more than just the police to deal with." Kevin scoffed, dismissing the threat. "Or what, you and your toy motorcycles?" Jax smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You'll see." By Monday morning, Kevin's arrogance had met its match. As the sun rose, the rumble of engines shook the windows of his modern concrete fortress. It wasn't just Jax, it was the entire Motor Mafia. 20 bikes, gleaming chrome and roaring engines, rolled into Eleanor's driveway and lined the street. Men and women in leather vests stood guard around Eleanor's property, not aggressively, but with an undeniable presence of solidarity. They drank coffee on her porch, laughed with her, and formed a human wall between her garden and Kevin's house. When Kevin's demolition crew arrived, ready to tear down the fence, they took one look at the sea of bikers and immediately packed up their trucks. No amount of money Kevin offered could convince them to cross that line. For 3 days, the bikers remained. They fixed Eleanor's gutter, painted her front door, and tended to the roses while Kevin watched from his window, growing increasingly agitated and isolated. The intimidation wasn't violent, it was the overwhelming power of a community standing up for one of their own. By Thursday, Kevin broke. He walked out of his house, looking defeated, and approached Jax, who was sitting on the porch railing polishing his helmet. "Make it stop," Kevin muttered, avoiding eye contact with Eleanor. Jax hopped down and handed Kevin a folded piece of paper. "We have terms. You want us gone? You sign this, you do exactly what it says, and you mean it." Kevin unfolded the list. His face paled. The demands were specific. First, Kevin was to hire a professional restoration crew to build a brand new, reinforced cedar fence. However, the fence line would be moved 2 feet onto his property, effectively gifting that land to Eleanor permanently. Second, he was to pay for a master gardener to maintain Eleanor's roses for the next 5 years, ensuring they thrived. And finally, the most important condition, a sincere, public apology to Eleanor, delivered on his knees if necessary. For a moment, Kevin looked like he might argue, but he looked at the 20 bikers staring him down, then at Eleanor's hopeful, tear-filled eyes. He swallowed his pride. "Fine," he whispered. "I'll do it." True to his word, the work began immediately. The new fence was beautiful, sturdy, and gave Eleanor extra space for her flowers. The gardener arrived weekly, treating the roses with expert care. When the job was finished, Kevin stood before Eleanor on her porch. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a humbled demeanor. "Mrs. Eleanor," he said, his voice shaking slightly, "I was wrong. I was disrespectful to you and to your husband's memory. I am deeply sorry for trying to take your garden away. I hope you can forgive me." Eleanor, whose heart was far bigger than her grievances, nodded gently. "We all make mistakes, young man. What matters is how we fix them." Kevin didn't stay long in the neighborhood after that. The cold concrete house never felt like a home, and the shadow of his own guilt was too heavy to bear. Within 6 months, he sold the house at a significant loss and moved back to the city. Today, 42 Maple Street is as peaceful as ever. The roses bloom brighter than they have in years, a testament to the care they receive. And every Sunday, the rumble of engines can be heard approaching. The Motor Mafia still comes to visit. Eleanor stands on her porch, waving to them like a mother greeting her children, knowing that she is never truly alone. This story of Eleanor and Kevin teaches us a powerful lesson. Respect cannot be bought, and kindness is the strongest force of all. Bullying may seem powerful in the moment, but it crumbles in the face of unity and love. The Motor Mafia proved that day that no one should ever have to face injustice alone, especially our elders who paved the way for us. If this story touched your heart and reminded you of the importance of standing up for others, please hit the like button and share this video with your friends and family. Let's spread a message of hope and kindness to millions around the world. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more emotional stories that restore faith in humanity. We want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from today. Are you protecting someone in your life? Let's start a conversation about kindness. Until next time, remember, be the rider who stops for the person in need. Thanks for watching.